Okay, so I originally had this video scripted. The script was like 761 words, um, but it turned out too formal, so I'm just going to do it more casually. And yeah, we'll see how it turns out. So I'll just use it as like a blueprint for a bunch of points I want to make about centrism. First of all, it's like one of the only ideologies that both conservatives and progressives alike can bond over hating. I am one of these people. I am someone who does not like centrism very much. But again, like I think it serves practical utility. So I'll go over the reasons in this video why I think that's the case. Some of the reasons I dislike it is because centrism is highly dependent upon like political cultures. So centrism varies from country to country. There's not really a clear idea about what centrism is, and so the definition is sort of nebulous. You go to one country, centrism looks one way. You go to another country, centrism looks a different way. The whole idea is like sort of easy to write off. I commonly hear that this is a position of most centrists, that you take the idea of someone on the left, and then you take the best ideas from the people on the right, and then try and implement those. And that's fine, but again, it views politics through this like really narrow prism of this is what the left believes, this is what the right believes, and then we'll see what they agree upon and then try and implement that. I mean, both sides could be wrong. So there's another criticism. And again, I mean, part of the reason I had a script written up for this video is because centrism depends on the person. I mean, you ask one centrist what it is, and you ask another, totally different, and they have totally different positions on a variety of issues. So there's not really an ideology of centrism. It's just the idea of taking what you want and then discarding what you don't want, which in practical life actually can be quite useful. If you're a normal person and you just want to go to work, do your rounds and get out, I mean, your ideas aren't really under much scrutiny, so I understand how that's appealing to the average person. But if you put it under the microscope, I guess, of political analysis or logical grounding, it sort of doesn't really hold up. We'll get into some of the reasons why I think it's good, at least for people on the right. And I think centrists have the unique ability to sort of like get people out of echo chambers, I guess. The way I put it here was sever ideological branches. I think as conservatives, if we have an opportunity to sever the ideological branch of social degeneracy, you know, things like abortion, premarital sex, same-sex marriage, stuff like this, and we can break people out of that on the left, I think that's a good idea. One of the ways I think that centrism is useful is that it sort of severs degenerative ideological branches, I guess I could put it. So if somebody on the left is going down this pipeline of degeneracy and they're sort of unwilling to engage with people on the right, which you see quite frequently in like far left progressive types, they'll be cut off from that ideology basically straight away, because they'll see that the centrist is someone who like actually wants to hear them out, and they're definitely further right than the progressive. So they're like, oh, maybe the far right, I guess, ideas, or maybe the right wing ideas are not so bad. Another problem with it is that centrists in general don't tend to take hard stances on things like declining birth rates. I mean, in Australia, the birth rate is a whopping 1.5 births per woman, which means our population is declining. You know, you ask centrists about this and they'll just say like, oh, I don't really have an opinion on it. Oh, I'm sure it's temporary. They sort of write it off and, you know, place it to the side and say this is not really a main issue. And not to get sidetracked, but having more births would be a simple like 20 to 30 year solution to the labour shortage in most countries. And just to reiterate, like centrism doesn't really have any cultural pull because of its lack of clear definition. And it's basically foundational to its failure as an ideology. Another point I also wanted to bring up as well, I have written down here that I sort of glossed over, was that centrism tends to be very, very popular in like psychology types. And I did want to say this, I think that centrists tend to overvalue subjective and personal experiences. They tend to focus on why people believe the things they do, as opposed to focusing on or tackling the beliefs themselves. Again, I got this point from PFU as well, because I did bring up the personal experience. So shout out to him. He is a centrist. I like his content, but yeah, definitely, definitely further right than what he is, because again, he's a centrist. But yeah, overvaluing propositional consistency is a little bit autistic. I do, I do agree with that point. Hyperfixating on it is not a good thing. But I think it's necessary for societal progression as well. And I think that most right wing ideas, this is why I am on the right. I think that most right wing ideas are far more useful for the progression of society than these so-called progressive ideas. It just seems socially degenerative to me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and share this as well. That's one thing I haven't been telling people to do. So share this content. It's not the highest quality so far, but I think it'll be useful to some people, and mostly conservatives. So I'll see you later. Have a good one.